Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for spending some time with us today. I know we have both students and alumni on this webinar today, so thank you for joining. I'd like to go over a few housekeeping items first before we get started. All participants are in a listen-only mode, but please use the Q&A box to type in questions as our speaker is presenting. All questions will be answered at the end of the presentation around 2:15. So this webinar is being recorded and will be available to replay on our website and to use YouTube channel. All right, so now to the panelist discussion. So we would like to start today by having each panelist introduce themselves, telling what their degree from TU is and their area of expertise. So for each panelist, how did you choose your business degree? And how did you go about marketing your business degree to employers, and what experiences did you have that set you apart from others? So Kate, if you won't mind starting out with you.
Great, thank you so much, Dunya, and good afternoon to the incoming freshmen at the University of Tulsa. We got an update on all of the things that you've been doing the past week. And before I introduce myself, I just want to say that you are making memories and having milestones that you will remember truly for the rest of your life. And I can't think of any better place to do that than the University of Tulsa. So congratulations and best wishes as you begin this next adventure. So as Dunya said, my name is Kate McKinley, and I attended the University of Tulsa Collins College of Business for undergraduate as well as a master's degree. So my undergraduate was a double major in marketing and management, also a minor in psychology. And then I went on to work at the university for several years in admissions. And during that time attended the MBA program and got my MBA focused on business strategy. And there's so many different things that I could share that I think is so valuable about a business degree. For me, why I chose that path, and it turned out to be, I think, a really great path for me, is that I really saw the business degree as being broad enough to open up a variety of opportunities upon graduation. Of course, when I was starting freshman year and selected business, I didn't know that I'd go on to graduate school, but it certainly afforded the opportunity to get a job right out of college and also to go on to graduate school. So that was a real driver for me on selecting the degree. I ended up, after the university, getting into the biopharmaceutical industry, which now I've been in for 20 years, worked in a variety of roles at established companies like Abbott and AbbVie, as well as now working in a startup where I serve as chief commercial officer and have all of the commercial aspects of the business, sales and marketing, as well as pricing, patient services. I also have our medical affairs team, and then business development and alliance management. And really an exciting opportunity for me this past year and a half, because we are literally building a business from scratch and bringing several products to market in the cancer space, and do intend to take the company public here in a couple of years. So lots of exciting things I can share and how my degree tied to that, but I know we've got other questions, so I will turn it back to you at this point, Dunya.
Sorry, I was muted. Thank you, Kate, for that. That was great. So next, can Thomas Porter introduce himself?
Hi, everyone. Thomas Porter, alumnus from the class of 2014. It's crazy to think that that was 6 years ago now. I graduated from the Collins College of Business with a degree in energy management and finance. I work currently in the oil and gas industry for a company called Occidental Petroleum Corporation as a land negotiator. I'm originally from St. Louis, Missouri, so all of that I just said was completely foreign to me 10 years ago when I started at the University of Tulsa. But what I think about the beauty of TU and the Collins College of Business is it truly is a university and college that's set apart. And I found that through my experience in the energy management program. The energy industry is something that is truly a spectacle in the city of Tulsa. Tulsa being the prior oil capital of the world, you have a lot of influence. When you walk down when you're walking on campus, it's hard not to notice all the buildings, Helmer Hall, Chapman Hall, all of those are named after Oklahoma oil pioneers. And so recognizing that type of influence and investment in the city of Tulsa really created a program in the business school that was really set apart. And I was able to get a ton of opportunities that led me to my full-time career as a landman or land negotiator today. So could not be more pleased. And I can honestly say that I know I would not have nearly any of the success I have today if it wasn't for the experiences that I had in a program that was so set apart at TU.
Great, thank you, Thomas. That is thank you for sharing. And so next we have Ashley Jackson.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ashley Jackson. I graduated from TU in 2008. My degree was in accounting and business law management with a minor in sociology and a certificate in African American studies. And I would say I'm originally from Tulsa, but I specifically chose TU because, well, one, I was interested in business and I heard a lot of good things about the College of Business, but kind of similar to Kate, one of the things that drew me to a business degree in general was the fact that it was broad enough. Kind of for me, I knew exactly what I wanted to major in, but I knew that kind of business was the foundation of everything. And so that was what drew me to the College of Business. And then I specifically chose accounting because, I've always liked numbers, but I didn't necessarily want to major in math or anything like that. And then too, my mom was an accountant, my sister was an accountant. And so from that, I guess understanding kind of in a high level sense of what they did, they enjoyed their jobs. That's kind of what led me down the path of accounting. And then I actually chose business law because I really enjoyed the legal aspect as well. And at the time I was kind of interested in going to law school, which I think TU, I will say, which was a lot different than, what I found at other universities, was that you were easily able to, double major and do different classes that were kind of outside of your scope to kind of get that well-rounded aspect. And so I would say that was one of the things that really stood out to me about TU.
Great, thank you, Ashley, for sharing. So lastly, we have Derek Alexander.
Hey, everybody. I graduated in 2014, but finished in 15 just because I was playing football while I was at the University of Tulsa, so I had a redshirt year. So graduated with a business management degree and then got my minor in finance. And, really I chose, business kind of like echoing what everybody else has said, kind of for the broad reach of it, kind of knowing that we could land somewhere in something and do something at some capacity after college, business being the foundation, kind of like what Ashley said. And then narrowed it into finance because I've always liked finance and I had people in my circle that I could see ahead of me that were already in the world of finance. So, kind of later on in life, now I'm a financial advisor. So, it kind of helped out. And, I really enjoyed, everything that, I really enjoyed my experience at TU. TU is, one of the top schools in the country, and being able to market yourself, and explain, all the things that you're going to go through as freshmen through your senior year and all the activities that you guys probably plan on partaking, being able to explain that and articulate it in a meaningful way to you definitely helps you put that narrative together.
All right, thank you, Derek. So next we have questions related to students and their professional development. So for this portion, please answer freely. So for the first question, what organizations were you involved in during your time at your university? What are your benefits of getting involved?
I can start out. I would say I was involved in several organizations, kind of a mix between social, community, service, mentoring, as well as stuff within the College of Business. So from a College of Business standpoint, I was involved in the National Association of Black Accountants, Beta Alpha Psi, and then for community service and I would say mentoring, I was involved in university ambassadors, Big Brothers and Big Sisters. I think it was an organization called Link. I may have messed up the name of now, but and then from a social side, I was involved in Delta Sigma Theta sorority, as well as some other organizations, Association of Black Collegians. But I will say that even kind of being involved in those various organizations, I would say the kind of common theme for me was developing leadership skills. I got involved, I would say, you know, in some of them my freshman year. I think it was a great way to meet friends. Even though I was from Tulsa, none of my core group of friends came to TU. And so it was kind of like starting all over, right? So I think joining organizations where, you know, people already have some of the same similar interests that you do, it was a great way to meet people. And then obviously, you know, it's a great way to build your resume and not just, you know, putting that you were a member, you know, on it, but also just kind of developing the groundwork of your leadership skills. And I would say, you know, that's definitely helped me now as I manage a team. So those are kind of your introductory, you know, aspects in terms of leading organizations and working with different groups of people that you'll definitely be able to apply throughout your life.
I'll just echo too what Ashley said. I think both Ashley and I were probably in a lot of similar organizations. So very similar. I was an orientation leader. So this is also a really unique experience to be able to participate in this forum. University ambassadors within the College of Business, National Association of Black Accountants, Beta Alpha Psi. I mean, you name it, I was heavily involved. And I think what I really took away from that time, just to, again, to echo what Ashley said, is the leadership and time management skills. When you leave the university and go into your, you know, you start to build your career, so many of the skills from your time at the university are already ingrained in you. And so having the ability to manage priorities and balance, you know, your time well is super important. And it's, you don't really, you have an expectation that that should already be something that's pretty established when you enter the workforce. And so having the opportunity to be involved on campus in a plethora of organizations is super important. And I also really liked Ashley's point about having to deal with different types of people. Being involved in an organization, being in a leadership position, you learn a lot of skills with dealing with people and dealing with conflict. And so being able to master those skills while you're on campus is going to serve you so much, and it's made such a huge difference. And then the last thing I will say is that the connections that you make through those organizations, the relationships that you build, those will continue beyond your time at TU. So once you enter your career, it's not unlikely that, you know, the same person that you were maybe running on a board for an organization with is someone that you're sitting across the table from in another position later in your career. And so I think that's something that you know, that has served me well as well.
All right, thank you, Thomas. It says any of the panelists want to answer this one?
You know what? I would just add that I think the benefit of being involved in the variety of organizations that TU offers, both at the business school as well as elsewhere, gives so much of an opportunity for you to practice and continue to develop some of the skills that were already discussed. But I would also add on your ability to communicate confidently, as well as emotional intelligence, and really having the ability to develop situational awareness, self-awareness, and how to really effectively interact with others. I'm really struck by the experiences that both Thomas and Ashley shared, as well as matching it up to how articulate they are. And I just can't help but think that many of these experiences at TU really helped them further those skills, such that when they entered in the workplace, they were differentiated amongst their peers that wouldn't have had some of those same experiences while they were in college.
Yeah, and I would add to that briefly. I think Katie hit the nail on the head, is being able to articulate those experiences. A lot of times sports doesn't allow you to do a lot of extracurricular activities, but during that time, some organizations. I was president of our fraternity at Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, and then also part of the Association of Black Collegians. So we still, even in doing that, what I would say is, as you're creating these events in the organizations that you're, being a part of, don't lose confidence in like once you're in your career, right, or in front of an employer, like that is experience. So to take an event from nothing and make it something, document that, be able to articulate the things that you did and what your involvement was, because those are things more than likely that you're going to have to do with your employer. So just take confidence in that as you're participating in those.
Yeah, thank you, Derek. Definitely. This kind of goes along with our second question, actually. So networking is intimidating. What tips do you have to get started, and what are the benefits?
I guess I'll tell you, a big part of my job is networking, and, getting to know people. A lot of times it's about a lot of it is mental, right? When you're going to approach another person, you may be thinking, all the different things that they could say and how wrong it could go. But really, networking is just about finding a common bond, right? So what's the one thing that kind of brings us all together, right? If you're at a TU event, hey, tell me about your experience at TU. What'd you study? What'd you, natural conversations that you already have some commonality with. So, kind of go in understanding like, hey, what are my common traits that I could have with somebody in the room, right? Know the room that you're entering into. So do a little bit of preparation, and that preparation will make you more confident. So when you're having a conversation with somebody, you won't be as nervous or, tentative. You kind of already know what your talking points are. And then from there, let it naturally flow, right? Don't force the issue, just let it naturally go where it's gonna, wherever it ends up.
On the point that Derek made about letting it be natural, I tend to think that a lot of time people assume that you have to be an extrovert to be able to network well. And I just want to take an opportunity to say that the important piece about networking is being able to create a relationship. And so you need to be able to do that in the way that feels most authentic to you. And that's what I've learned. So for some people that may be attending a career fair and talking to people all day. But for some other people that may be sending an email and setting up coffee with someone. So understanding what is most authentic for you, I think is huge in overcoming the barrier that networking, or the fear that's sometimes associated with networking. I sometimes think that in college, I tend to think that, certain types of people were just going to be better at networking than others. And I think it's more of, you have to find what situations work best for you to be able to create a relationship with someone.
And I would add to that and say, you know, I guess to Thomas's point, be yourself. And then also, you know, there are different avenues in terms of networking, because I know we tend to think about like, you know, the big room with all of the people. But then there's also, you know, you guys, we didn't have that when we, or I won't speak for everyone, or yeah, no, because I guess it was just about last year, but I don't know if there was different versions of when you guys attended to you. But now you guys have U Tulsa Connect, where to Thomas's point, like you can, you know, send someone a message and you know the people that are already on there, they want to mentor, you know, you. So that's an easy way. So it's not like, oh, I feel pressure. What if they say no? They're on there for that sole purpose. And so I was able to meet a great mentee that way. He's actually interning with me right now. And again, it was all off of a natural connection. He reached out and, you know, and told me, you know, some things that he was interested in. And then we talked over the last year, whenever I would come to Tulsa, to Thomas's point, we would, you know, meet up for 15 minutes or so and talk. And then that led to this summer, we had an opportunity open and I reached out and asked him, you know, hey, would you be interested? And he was. And so I wouldn't also think, because I know in college we're thinking about, you know, internships and all that other stuff and what you can kind of gain from it. But I also, you know, think of it from the standpoint of, you know, just learning from people. And it always doesn't have to be kind of a formal, you know, mentorship or, you know, a networking in a sense of like, I'm trying to get a job. Sometimes it is simply just learning from people. So just being around, even if it's not you doing, you know, the talking, just kind of being in the vicinity and picking up that knowledge from other people that may, you know, want to carry the conversation, and then you can join in on the parts that you feel comfortable in. So to what everybody's saying, I think, you know, everyone has been awkward one way or another when you've met large groups of people in that way. So, you know, when you come in, just simply be yourself. People can feel that. And you can, when you build that relationship from a genuine place, you know, people will much more respect that, and that will draw them to you.
All right. Does any of the panelists want to add in, or should we go on to the next question? Okay. So the next question is similar to what we just talked about. How have the connections you made in college helped you get to where you are today? I don't know if you guys want to add anything else, or we can move on to the next one, but that's the question.
I think this is just another opportunity to just plug U Tulsa Connect. That is an incredible platform that will connect you with alumni across the world. And we have some extremely notable alumni. You know, I'm always in just so much awe every year when we honor our distinguished alumni. Everyone's from, you know, professional athletes, NFL players, golf coaches, to CEOs of Fortune 500 companies. And so at your fingertips, you have the opportunities to create those connections, and they are long lasting. You know, one of the things I remember when I was in orientation is a professor had said, you know, you are always going to be now an alum of the University of Tulsa. That's never going to change. And so take pride in that, and take pride in the fact that you've got a community of people that are wanting to share that bond with you. And create relationships through it. So I would say that those connections are huge. The prior company that I worked for, the CEO of the company happened to be a U Tulsa alumni. And prior to moving to my old company, we had the opportunity to connect through the Alumni Association. And so being able to create those connections, again, just based on the fact that we went to TU, and now I can say that we still have a close relationship today. I mean, those are invaluable experiences and opportunities that, you know, you just can't really pass up. So join U Tulsa Connect, take advantage of it.
All right. Yeah. Thank you, Thomas. Yeah, definitely. Just like on a personal note too, as a graduate student, yeah, connections really do help at TU. And even like I remember my first internship was a U Tulsa grad and alum actually, and they were like looking only for TU students. So giving that connection, especially putting yourself online. Utulsa Connect really helped. Also, LinkedIn really helped as well, and other social media apps. Okay, so next question is, what is one piece of advice you wish that you had known as a freshman?
I'll jump in here, Dunya. I think there is such an incredible opportunity at the University of Tulsa because of the smaller environment than maybe some of the even mid-size and larger universities that you may have evaluated. We were talking before everyone got on the line about social distancing and some of the dynamics that we're experiencing in 2020. And, you know, the majority of the classes at TU really don't expand beyond about 30 or 40 students. And what I learned over my 4 years and into graduate school was how to really effectively leverage the professors. I wish I would have known that and done that even sooner. So what I would say is that you have a unique opportunity, even as a freshman, due to the smaller class sizes that are being taught by full professors. And I think as remarkable as our alumni are remarkable, what is remarkable is the caliber of professors that are in particularly the College of Business, where they have obviously very strong academic background, but also many unique and diverse work experiences that by developing individual relationships with your professors, you can learn a great deal. I also think it helps with some of those networking or becoming a confident communicator, things that we're talking about just by having those experiences. So taking advantage of office hours and going and asking a professor for additional feedback or help or support is something I learned over time, but I think I wish I would have leveraged that sooner. And how that I think has translated to me effectively in the workplace is really establishing very strong relationships with bosses and those that have been senior to me in organizations that I've worked at that, you know, continue to offer that feedback and that career advice. And, you know, sometimes giving you even the tough feedback that really helps you continue to develop and grow. So take advantage of the small class sizes and really start developing those relationships with your professors today.
Yeah, and just to add, in alignment with, you know, Kate, I believe get as much exposure as possible. You know, there's a lot of downtime that you have in college, and even with, you know, sports and the organization I was talking, I still sometimes think, man, I had a lot of downtime. And, you know, it's like, imagine if you use that time to throw yourself into your interests, because college is the time to do that. After you leave college, you know, you really hit, you know, you got bills, you got family, you know, whatever those things are. College is your time to kind of experiment about what you're willing to expose yourself to and kind of get a taste, right? You know, like a little teaspoonful of whatever your interest is and allow you to go down a rabbit hole, you know? So if it's something that you like, you can continue to dive deeper, right? Full time, because your job is a student, rather than when you get, I think a lot of times people wait till after college to kind of try to figure out what they want to do. And college is the time to get the exposure that I believe, at least when I was a freshman, right? That's the time to really get an idea of, like, if your interest is in finance, well, right, build a relationship with a finance, you know, professor, see if you can go intern in some form or fashion, right? And just keep on allowing it to go down that rabbit hole. And if it's something that you find out you don't like, you can pivot during this time frame, and it's not going to cost you, you know, dollars or anything else, right? It's just you have time, right? So use time. You know, use time. Time is on your side, so use it in the most effective way.
And I would add to, oh, sorry, go ahead, Thomas.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Are you going? Okay, sorry.
Yeah, you go ahead. Go first, Ashley.
Okay, sorry. So what Derek, it made me think about too, in terms of you have time, I would say for me, I wish I would have told myself not to overthink everything. I'm a planner at heart. So I would plan out, you know, every minute of my life if I could. And I would say, you know, going back to college, I was even that way in terms of like, you know, selecting a major and, you know, stressing out about all of that, you know, kind of stuff. And I would say, you know, don't overthink it. Think about, you know, what you enjoy doing. You don't have to, you know, there's no such thing as a perfect major. I would say all of us, even though we have our respective degrees, we've kind of ventured into, you know, other directions that our degree, you know, in itself may not have gotten us, right? And so I would say, like, yes, the degree is the, you know, kind of foundation. But even, you know, if you get to the end, don't think that, you know, whatever you know, major in, that it's limiting you to that. Because if I look back in, you know, in college, I never would have, you know, planned out this, you know, career path that I've been on, which has been great. And so I would just say, you know, enjoy the journey, enjoy the experience, right? So that doesn't mean, you know, plan, prepare, because when you do those things, then you're prepared for the opportunities that will come. But also don't overthink it, don't overmanage it, you know, just enjoy it, prepare. If you don't get it, you know, every internship, if you don't have an internship your freshman summer or sophomore summer, you know, there's nothing wrong with you. You're not behind. You know, just leverage that time to, you know, continue to build other aspects, you know. And so I would just say that part. I know that I would say just kind of seeing between like me and my friends and our respective career paths, I would just say, you know, that would be the biggest thing, because sometimes we can be our own worst critic. And so I would just say, you know, enjoy it, enjoy the journey. You know, what is for you is for you. So you'll get there regardless. Well, I won't say regardless of the choice. You need to make good choices, but, you know, you will get there. So there's no, you know, perfect path. Even if you follow what every one of us says, you know, you could end up in a completely, you know, different place, because we're all unique. So I would just say, you know, map out what is good for you, and that won't, you know, perfectly align with, you know, anyone else, because you're unique.
Yeah, they've hit the nail on the head. The thing I wanted to add was that, which I think they've all said it in their different ways, but use this time to really find what you're passionate about. You know, when I think about my 4 years at TU, you know, at some point you can get really caught up with just really focusing on the end goal. I got to graduate. I got to pass this class. I got to get a job. I got to get an internship. And, you know, I remember attending like a seminar by a professor, and they were talking about the difference between a job and a career. And what I really took away from that is that when you're building a career, it's got to be based on what you're passionate about. And so you really use this time. It's so crucial right now. You have the opportunity to really find what you want to do and how you want to make a difference in the world once you leave TU. And so really use those opportunities, take different classes, really stretch your mind, you know, go against the grain, because I think, you know, in my opinion, you'll have done a disservice to yourself if you just went through the motions for this time at TU, if you didn't use this time to really find out what you were passionate about.
All right. Thank you, Thomas, and everyone on the panel. So the next question is, what is your favorite part of your job?
I could start. I would say my favorite part about my job is actually my team. I would say kind of back to what we were talking about in terms of kind of getting that introduction of leadership and all of that stuff at TU. Like mentorship and that aspect has always been a part of my life. And I would just say, you know, now that I'm a manager, I'm able to, you know, do that on a daily basis and, you know, invest in other people's careers and those sort of things. And so I would say, you know, it's kind of on the flip side, it's probably the most challenging part too. But I think it allows me to kind of do the other aspects that, you know, I would say that kind of make me whole as a person. And then I think kind of to what we were talking about, or I think Kate had mentioned it actually, in terms of getting that feedback. I think once you're in a manager position, it's not only about leading a team, but there's a lot of self-reflection. You learn a lot about yourself. And so I think from that standpoint, I've learned a lot about myself. I've learned a lot about my leadership skills. This is probably the most that I've grown during this time. And so I would say that would be the best aspect about my job.
I'll just add on to that, Ashley, and Thomas referenced, kind of your passion versus your career. And I had this immediate thought, not even realizing this was the next question, but I've spent the better part of the past 20 years building and leading teams as well. And one of the things that is so rewarding for me is really identifying individuals that are strong subject matter experts and putting them together with people that otherwise individuals wouldn't think would work well together. So creating really diverse teams of really with strong competencies and figuring out how to create an environment where they will thrive and ultimately we will be successful. And I'm doing so much of that right now and helping build a company. And I keep reflecting on, there's a famous Steve Jobs quote where he talks about all of his success at Apple had nothing to do with him, and that the best thing he ever did was find people smarter than him. And I'm really struck by the fact that we hail that as unique, because I would think, doesn't everybody think that way? You will never have all the answers. And if any of us think we do, we should immediately be checked. But what we do have the ability to do is find those people that have the expertise and bring them together. And I would also just layer on, and I think the workplace has changed so much and will change even more in the positive about how do we create the life and the work that can work really well together. So, the work-life balance is kind of the common term. I don't know if that's really the right term, but really ensuring that the environment that I help foster at work allows people to be their best at work as well as personally. And so in a previous role that I had a very large team of 250 people. And when we did professional development, we really focused on development that would help people with their job, but also become better in life, whatever that was, as a spouse, as a parent, as a partner, as a member of their community, as a volunteer. How do we help people really grow and thrive in all aspects of their life? And something I'm very passionate about. I'm proud I've been able to have those opportunities, and hope I can continue to do that in my career.
A major aspect I really appreciate about my job is the value that I know that I'm adding and the company that I work at is adding. I'm a firm believer in that you need to be on board and 100%, you have to 100% believe what your company is doing and be invested in it. And so I work in the energy industry, specifically oil and gas. I'm here in Colorado. All of our operations that I work on are specifically here in the state of Colorado. And so when I'm working with teams and the decisions that we're making, it is to improve the lives of Coloradans here in the state. Providing energy needs it's huge. Thinking about the impact and how much we rely on oil and gas products, it gives me just so much joy to know that I get to play a role in making people's life a little bit easier, from delivering, medical supplies to people to, giving people the ability to go see their loved ones. So it's that type of impact that sometimes, it's really important to kind of take a step back when you are, working on spreadsheets or you're in, difficult conference calls and really think about, okay, what is this all for? And when I have those moments, I have nothing but joy, just a smile on my face, because I love what I do. So that's it for me.
And on my end, I'll keep it brief. I enjoy the best part about my job. So I really have two things. The first thing is hearing people's story. I have the opportunity to sit down and hear people's story from, A to Z, their financial picture, which is really a lot of people hold very intimately and kind of close to their chest. And they kind of opened that door for me. So I actually found that through connecting with TU alumni. I got done playing football and came back, didn't know where I, kind of what the next steps were. And somebody referred, somebody said, hey, you need to reach out to our Tulsa alumni. And he gave me a list of names and numbers, went through the whole list. Everybody met with me. And I really just asked them about their life. I was like, what made you who you are today? And I remember getting done with those meetings thinking, if I could do this for the rest of my life, I would be fine. And that's how I ended in the career I was in. And then second is the autonomy. I don't really have, anybody over my shoulder, kind of telling me what to do. And if you were to ask my coaches or my teammates, that is my personality, is to kind of do things, how I want to do it, my way, when I want to do it. And that fits me, and that excites me. So having those two things being able to blend together, it was the perfect fit.
All right, thank you, Derek. So it is almost 2:15 now. I'm going to open it up to students if they have any questions. I don't really see any questions on the chat box. I guess I'll just wait a few minutes and see if they have any questions, or if they're willing to just type it in.
While we're waiting for students to submit any questions in the chat box, Dunya, if you want to go ahead and ask maybe one more question.
Okay. Yeah. So what are some things that students can do to build their resume?
This will get, I'm sure, a lot of really good answers. It's a really great question, Dunya. I thought of this actually earlier in one of the other topics we were discussing, but I think it's relevant here as well. And I would say if you can start today keeping track of all of the experiences that you are having, all of the milestones that you're meeting, and as much as possible, translate them on your resume to metrics. So all the finance and accounting panelists on the line will appreciate that. But I think looking at how you can articulate experiences, but showing measurable impact. And that was something that, I aspired to get into the commercial side of the biopharmaceutical industry while I was at TU and working on my MBA and in admissions, but I knew admissions recruiting wasn't necessarily viewed as businessy as maybe some other first-time jobs. So everything I did in those experiences was to really keep track of metrics, growth rates or volume increases, or what changed markedly from before I was there to when I was there. And I think many of the experiences were
Did we lose Kate?
We're talking about today, where the group work that you'll do, if you can just start tabulating those metrics and translating those to your resume, that would be one recommendation I would have.
And I think to Kate's point, she brought out something that was really good, like in terms of she was in admissions, but she knew where she kind of wanted to be. I think that is important because sometimes when you look at certain jobs, because maybe you don't have like the business internship where you're working for a certain company, maybe, you're, working at a fast food restaurant or whatever. It doesn't make that, a lesser of an experience, right? You just have to know how to tell that story. So to Kate's point, it's all about, writing that down and understanding how to make that measurable, because you can, there are people that had those business internships that, they might, because I'm sure we've all seen resumes like that where they're like, did this, and you're like, okay, but like, what was like the result of that, like, what was your contribution and those sort of things. And so I think that's what employers are looking for in terms of, on your resume. And then to that point, kind of outside of the jobs, what everyone has discussed are the leadership opportunities and stuff that you have on campus. So make sure, you're noting what organizations you're involved in and those sort of things. So you can talk about those as well, on your interviews, because I think all of those things kind of tell the story outside of just, your GPA.
Yeah, and I'll just go back because Ashley is absolutely right. It is that having an experience in and of itself doesn't land you the job. It is, what did you gain from that experience and how can you contribute to that future opportunity? And so I'm sure we all have had experiences where someone has said, I don't have the exact experience you're looking for. However, here's what I have done that will help meet or exceed the needs that you're aiming for in this role. And I think the analogy is great, is that a job that may not seem to be aligned when positioned the right way really draws out the experiences, some of the capabilities that the person has developed, as well as their strategic thinking, that they even have the ability to say, well, here's how this experience at a fast food restaurant or wherever it was translates into this business world, versus the person that says, well, because I interned at a top tier company, but I have nothing to really show for it, who are you going to pick? You're going to pick the person that brings those intangibles and that strategic thinking to the table.
All right. Do any of the panelists want to answer? We have two questions actually that popped up from students. So one of them is, what was the hardest part about finding a job that suited you? And anyone can open in on this one.
I think, and the question was, what does it take? I'm sorry, I'm going to read it. What's the hardest part about finding a job that's suited? I believe, the hardest part is the exposure, kind of like the at-bats, and it could take time to, it may take time in that industry to really come to grips with yourself and say, this is not something that I want to do for the rest of my life, right? Like, this was a job, it's not necessarily the career that I want to choose. So the advantage that you all have, right, being, in college, is you can take those at-bats now, right? And you can, find something that you're interested in, dive as deep as you want. And if it's something that you find fulfillment and purpose in, you can continue to drive those relationships as time goes on. And that is something that your employer is going to be looking for, right? Kind of having the intrinsic, motivation of, I'm interested in something, so let me dive deeper, right? If you can do that at any role, with any company, on any team, right? Just being self-driven to try to figure out, how can I make this better? How can I find out a little bit more? How can I do more? That's a skill that's, pretty invaluable in almost any source, in any place.
And I would probably add to that in terms of, I know we were just talking about, I guess, writing your resume, but I would say leveraging career services in terms of, doing the mock interviews and those sort of things, because you can look great on paper, but I guess to kind of back to what, Cade and, Derek mentioned earlier, if you can't actually communicate that, in an interview format, it probably won't land you the job. And so I think, obviously, some people that is a natural skill set. So maybe, that won't be something that is challenging for you. But I think it is something that, you just want to make sure you practice in on that skill, even for all of us that are, professionals now. I think it is still good to, even if you're not looking for a job, just practicing, that skill of like, okay, getting the questions and, those things, and being able to articulate, what you have done, and not just read back your, regurgitate your resume. So you want to be able, kind of when we were talking about networking, being yourself, and being able to articulate what you've done in that type of format. So I think leveraging career services in terms of, putting that resume together, as well as practicing interviews. I think that will help you get more comfortable and feel more prepared when it comes to landing your job.
I also just want to add that truly try and think about it as, and we've used this term before, but not that just a job, but a career that you're building and a place. So really look to see if you're going to be in a place that is going to make you a better person as well. And that goes to the people that you're interacting with. So, you know, everything from the interview to the way they've communicated with you, all of those things I think are extremely important because at the end of the day, you want to be at a place that is going to develop you as much as they want you to help them.
All right, thank you, Thomas. So the last question is, have any of the panelists ever had to take risk in their career? And if so, how did they solve it?
Dunya, I have so many that I can't even share, you know, examples, what, and I'm sure the other panelists can give some really good examples. What I will say to you that every single move you make in your career should have aspects that you are confident about and should have aspects that scare you half to death. And that was career advice from a very top tier female CEO told me that at one point in a mentoring discussion. The only way you are going to grow and understand, uncover your passion and realize your purpose is when you put yourselves in situations where, quite frankly, you think maybe you can't do it, because that will help you overcome so that the next time something seems risky or scary, usually it gets easier each time. The other piece that I would say about that is really ensuring that along the way, when you're taking those risks and you're identifying the things you think you might not be able to do, you've got the support network there to give you feedback, to help you push through, to help increase your confidence. So I think you should always be looking as you're making moves in your career and making choices to add a little bit of risk and uncertainty to the element, because that's how you grow and ultimately will thrive.
And I'd also like to add, so, you know, pretty much my career I would say my career is kind of a risk to an extent, because I don't get paid a traditional salary. So when I came in, it was zero. And then you kind of make your way as time goes on. And that was something I never saw myself doing, especially coming out and getting a degree, you know, and I was like, wow, I got a degree to come out and, you know, start at zero. But what I would say is, for any of you guys that may have any type of like an entrepreneurial bug or twitch, you know, it's exciting. You know, it's something that if it excites you to kind of be able to have that type of autonomy and freedom to kind of do the things that you want, you know, how you want to do it, what you want to do, you know, that's kind of what it comes with, right? So the removal of the salary, you know, or somebody paying you kind of comes with that freedom, but at the same time, you kind of have to, you know, you got to go out and make it happen. So the way it was solved is through work, right? Through sitting down with mentors, like what Kay said, that were in similar positions, right? So utilize the UConnect, you know, the UTOSA Connect, you know, individuals that have already been through what you've been through, you know, what you're about to go through, and utilize their experience. That way you may not have to make the same mistakes, and you may advance, you know, a little bit faster than the mentor that you're in front of.
All right. So we wanted to thank you again for sharing your time and insight with us. Be sure to take note of these upcoming events. And then students and alumni, please give us feedback on today's event by using this QR code to fill out our survey. And with that, this concludes our program. Thank you, guys. Hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Best wishes.
Yes.
Thank you, panelists.
Go to you.
Great, Kate.